In a distant time in Moldova, the war and civil unrest has turned the whole country into ruins. The US soldiers situated in the country that time are faced with some unknown entities in various locations of the country. The entities are almost invisible to the human eyes, but it can only be seen through the hyperspectral camera goggles made to help the soldiers. Sergeant Chris Davis is the one who went the closest to an unknown entity of same kind and faced death in the process, but the footage recorded by his hyperspectral goggles made the CIA looking deeper into the situation. The entities kill in a whole different way. The organs of the victim gets frozen, but the skin gets burned and corroded. The US military asked for help from the expert researcher and scientist Mark, who created many useful equipment including hyperspectral goggles. He gets invited to the US military airbase to assist the investigation. After seeing the footage, Mark is mildly shocked and confused at the same time. The US Army general then introduces him to a woman named Madison working for the CIA who is also here to investigate the confusing situation. The locals think the unknown entities are ghosts of the war triggered by the war and came to seek revenge. Madison thinks that the whole explanation is a bit superstitious. Madison says the only working theory that they have for the situation is that this is some kind of cloaking technology worn by the insurgent soldiers as active camouflage. Mark thinks that the theory seems off because it is too advanced for a country like Moldova and doesn't agree with the explanation because the theories lack data to prove any of it. Mark goes on with his own advanced hyperspectral camera to get a better shot of the entities. Since the missions are running into the cities every day by the US soldiers, Mark is suggested to mount his camera to a Delta vehicle. The soldiers are kind of angry at Mark because he ripped off a .50 caliber machine gun to mount his camera, but didn't bother after getting to know that he is the one who designed all their equipment. Mark's team named DARPA designed most of the useful and working equipment such as mechanical loaders body armors that protect the soldiers. The mission is led by Captain Cabrera and their goal is to rescue the soldiers that are trapped in a building by the insurgents. Before getting grabbed, the trapped soldiers radioed that they saw the unknown entities which are now called the hyperspectral anomalies. The group of soldiers set off in Delta trucks carrying Madison and Mark along with them on the mission. The Delta Force soldiers get off the truck as soon as they arrive and takes position guarding the targeted building. The trapped soldiers, the Utah team, is trapped on the 4th floor of the building. Mark and Madison are both in the same vehicle monitoring the helmet cams. The soldiers find body of an insurgent and a body of someone from their Utah team. Mark picks up something unusual from one of the helmet cams at their 2 o'clock. But the operators barely see anything with their eyes in the direction. They find one of the soldiers from the Utah team hiding under a broken bathtub. When asked about his teammates, he says that all of them are dead, and their bodies are frozen upstairs on the top floor. He says that something looking like a frozen blanket went through their bodies. After moving up to the top floor, the soldiers notice bodies lying all over the floor, but there is no sign of gunfight. Mark spots a glowing anomaly through a soldier's helmet cam. When he is instructed to take shots, the shots go right through it and doesn't hurt or injure the anomaly. It proves that it's not an insurgent soldier attacking the US troops using camouflage. The anomaly goes right through the soldier, which kills him at the spot. The instructor gives an order to everyone, so they switch to heavy rounds or 203s. But the bullet goes through the anomaly, and it doesn't do a thing. One by one the soldiers keep dropping down on the ground. Mark suggests pulling out everyone in the building. Only a small group stays alive, and they come outside with a rope. Mark comes outside the vehicle and points the camera to the anomaly, which comes outside, dropping down soldiers that were still climbing the rope. Mark gets clear shot of the anomaly with his camera while the captain fires a rocket toward the anomaly. The rocket doesn't do anything to the anomaly, and it moves through the captain, which ends up killing him instantly, just like the other soldiers coming out of the building. Some surviving soldiers get into the vehicle quickly, but unfortunately the vehicles step on mines planted by the rebels. Two of the vehicles gets flipped by the explosion made by the mines and both of the drivers end up dying. The whole group takes cover inside an abandoned factory close to the location. All of the soldiers are in shock, including Madison, who got injured by the explosion. They are now confirmed that what they attacked the soldiers are not any human, but it had human-like form and conscious. Most of the hyperspectral cameras of the soldiers are damaged by the sudden attack. Mark pulls out his camera in an elevated position inside the building, which reveals that the anomalies are waiting outside looking for them, and they are stopped by a barrier of iron fillings which is almost everywhere around the factory. They are assured that there are other people inside the building. The group searches the whole factory, and they end up finding a closed door. Someone suddenly fires through the door's mirror. The soldiers find two children scared inside the room. The girl and her brother say that it is their father who put the iron fillings to protect them before he was killed by the anomalies. They believe the anomalies are lost souls living between life and death. Mark finds a ceramic tile inside the pocket of the kid's father and a map marking a location called Masaroff. The girl says that's the place where all the killings began. The major contacted the base, and the general is going to send helicopters to pick them up in a plaza about a mile away from the factory. But since the anomalies are roaming around the streets, it will be difficult to reach the plaza. Mark searches the factory and finds a lot of iron fillings left in the factory storage. He then comes up with a plan of making dirty bombs with them which can help them survive. Meanwhile, Mark modifies his hyperspectral camera into a searchlight so the operators can get a better visual. Mark also instructs the base, asking them to make a larger searchlight. Just before the extraction begins, the anomalies all round up in front of the building. The anomalies all jump from a higher ground to cross the barrier, which makes the team exiting from the back door of the factory. The soldiers fire dirty bomb at the anomalies that are chasing them down, but the grenade freezes them for a while but doesn't kill them. When the group arrives at the location, but the helicopter hasn't arrived yet. They all take shelter in a broken bus nearby the location, and unfortunately Mark's searchlight breaks down and stops working. Luckily, a big tank with large searchlight arrives in their location for rescuing them. In the searchlight, a large group of anomalies appear on the building. The tank shoots at the anomalies while the group runs for the tank to take cover. Since the explosion can't hurt the anomalies, they run into the soldiers and causing their death. The anomalies get mad at the soldiers, and they end up breaking the tank along with the big searchlight, which ends up everyone without vision. The little brother of the girl runs to retrieve the ceramics left by his father, and this risky behavior of his gets him killed before the group can save him. The helicopter reaches their location along with a searchlight, and they all have gotten on the helicopter despite the grief for the little kid. Mark notices the anomalies are stuck by the airflow from the helicopter's propeller, and he smashes the bottles carrying iron fillings on the ground, which ends up stopping the anomalies for an amount of time. Once they are safe in the air, the group gets informed that their base has been taken by the anomalies. The whole group goes to a civilian bunker. The little girl gets sick because of a shrapnel inside her shoulder. Mark gets to know from her that the power plant in Masaroff is the source of the anomalies. Later at night, the general of the US troops of Moldova comes with 5 helicopters, soldiers, and some weapons. There were 240 of them total inside the base, but there is only 19 of them right now, others are all dead. The whole Allied group starts arguing with each other inside the bunker about what the anomalies might be. Mark announces what they really are: not solid, liquid, nor gas, but it is 100% sure that they are man-made. Bose-Einstein condensate, a state of matter that was predicted by Bose and Albert Einstein. It can be slowed by iron fillings, can't pass through ceramic, but it can pass through walls, which explains why Comstock survived under the ceramic bathtub. The nuclear power plant from the Masaroff is the place where the anomalies are getting their power from. Mark says that the plasmic discharge weapon can kill the anomalies. The whole group goes on looking for anything they can use to make the special weapon that can release plasmic discharge. Mark starts gathering materials found inside the bunker with the help of the group and builds as many plasmic discharge guns as he can with the available arsenal. Then they start planning on how to destroy the power plant where the power is located for the anomalies. The next day in the morning, the group of soldiers head over to the Mazarov with the helicopters, and they mount a searchlight on a robot dog. Two of the soldiers fire at the anomalies with the weapon made by Mark. When the anomalies are hit, they get destroyed in an instant. The soldiers cheer after seeing the success. The group of soldiers launch a full-scale attack with the plasmic discharge guns. When the soldiers are busy with distracting the anomalies, Mark and Madison both go inside the power plant, but they get separated by an attacking anomaly. When the other soldiers are covering, Mark and Madison go looking for the lab. Mark and Madison find a massive door made of iron, and behind the door there is a lab. The scientists were studying and scanning humans with X-rays in molecular level. After the scanning, they printed the humans into condensate forms. Deeper inside the lab there is a storeroom which keeps all the anomalies in separate cells. It is revealed that a catastrophic failure occurred inside the storeroom and some anomalies escaped through the broken cells. The scientists tried stopping the experiment, but it was already too late. Most of the anomalies got out and started killing all the living beings they found in front of them. Meanwhile, the group of soldiers noticed that some of the injured scattered anomalies can rearrange their bodies. The soldiers start attacking them after seeing the problem. Inside the lab, Mark and Madison figure out that there is an emergency shutdown procedure. All they have to do is cut off the energy supply of the lab. The fighting outside disturbs the other anomalies locked inside the cells. They constantly start breaking down the cells they are in. On the roof, the soldiers start charging the big plasmic discharge gun to fight the anomalies getting rearranged. The soldier decides to use 3 clips at the same time to get more power from the gun. Some of the soldiers start getting killed by the anomalies. Inside the lab, Mark starts unlocking all the power cords to shut the power off from the anomalies while Madison protects him from the attacking anomalies. But the recoil of the big plasmic discharge gun sets off with the help of the soldier, and it throws off the soldier. The recoil is so heavy that it breaks off all the cells of the anomalies, but Mark somehow manages to unlock the main power line of the power plant, which freezes and shuts down all the anomalies. All of a sudden, the alarm of the lab goes on and it is revealed that the anomalies are controlled by the human nerves of the anomalies, but their bodies are actually dead. Mark then unplugs all the cables connected to their nerves and relieves them from their suffering. Madison wants to bring the evidence of the whole research, but Mark doesn't agree with her idea since this research shouldn't have existed at the first place. After all the anomalies are destroyed, the US Army starts repairing the city of Mazarov and the whole Moldova. They start taking care of the injured soldiers of the war, and in the end, Mark finally leaves the country after saying goodbye to Madison, the army general, and the little girl. This is how finally the never-ending War of Moldova reaches its end. Thank you so much for tuning in. Do subscribe to our channel for future contents.